All right. Good morning. Welcome to the fifth grade information session, kind of our second in our series here for our fourth grade parents as you look ahead. As I was mentioning, we're headed into our third year of this orientation for our program. It'll be the first year that we recognize it as part of the middle school, which opens up some additional opportunities for our kids and our families. And so we're really excited to share with you today. I think what we have in our 5-6 program is something truly unique and special. It's an opportunity for students to build their skills as academically, personally, growing character, their relationships. It's a really special group of teachers as well, who you'll hear from today. So this is all about what we say in the mission and fostering those individual talents that develop in these crucial years. So I look forward to what you'll be hearing today. And of course, we look forward to any questions that you have along the way. Susan, I'm going to hand it off to you.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us. It looks like we have a great crowd, and we recognize early Friday morning is a difficult time. So thanks for being with us. If you have to step away and you didn't have a chance to ask your question, please feel free to type it in the chat. We can answer those, or we can email you and have further discussion later. As Tom said, this is kind of a part 2 for our fourth grade families, and for third grade families, it's a little bit of a part 1 for you. So welcome to this conversation. We do want your dialogue continued, and this will be a continued conversation. We're always happy to talk more, especially Alan and I love to talk about this important year, so feel free to always come to us. So, let's see. Okay. So just this past Wednesday, I hope maybe your fourth graders came home, and Alan and I were excited to talk to the fourth graders again, first of many conversations. They certainly have met Mr. V before on campus through chapels and just through his walking around campus, which he does so often, and getting to know the kids. But this was a real sit down kind of moment. You can see on his screen, he was sharing just some fun facts about himself and about his family, and the kids really enjoyed getting to know him in that respect. I told the kids, I started our conversation, and I'll share this with you. I think it's so fun that this fourth grade group, they are making history, and they are real fanatics of history. Right now, you know that through their social studies curriculum and stepping back in time with their wonderful American history. But they are making history because they are the first group in fifth grade who will actually be a part of middle school. And they will have the middle school experience, not just for 3 years, but for 4 years. And they kind of went nuts on that. They were really excited that, oh my gosh, we're making history. And not only that, but they're going to have this experience for 4 years. And I think that's huge. For them and for the pedagogy that awaits them and the fun in middle school. So some of their insightful questions, they weren't just about, like, often, I have to tell you guys, often in this talk that we will have with the 4th to 5th or 5th to 6th, they're very excited about things like lockers and juice machine and getting, refills of the juice during lunch. These are the big things on their minds. But I have to say, kudos to this fourth grade group. They asked a lot of insightful questions about homework, about projects. What are the projects they'll be doing in middle school? I think Mr. V and I were like, oh my gosh, we get to talk about this. Sports, student government. I love that they see those posters flying away, in the fall that are hanging all over our campus, and they have an interest in pursuing student government. They're already thinking ahead. And of course, the very exciting key cards. Oh my gosh. Yesterday was a big day in our fifth grade. We allowed the fifth graders to have their very own key cards. I felt like I was giving like keys to the kingdom, golden ticket. They were so jazzed. They just wanted to run around campus and unlock the doors. But this is a huge thing for them. This is a part of that newfound freedom that they have, that we slowly, infuse into their daily lives. And I think they realize that it's only done when they're showing us those key moments of responsibility respect for their community, respect for each other. And it's a big step for them to, have this, and they will have that too when your students are in 5th grade. So they were very excited about that. I think that one of the things that we talked about in our last chat with you all in the 4th grade, just want to review real quick that, having this model of 5, 6 teachers, the same teachers for 2 years, and you'll be meeting some of them, as Tom said, in this presentation, but I just always want to remind you that this is a very special and unique experience for our students in our middle school, that they have a team of teachers they will have for 2 years in 5th and 6th, and a team of teachers they will have in years 7 and 8. Not a model you will see in any other school. So it's very special. And our teachers have been following this model now. This is our 2nd year. So no, this is an established model. The difference that you're going to see for next year is basically we're just calling it 5th grade and middle school. But this is a model that we are really just seeing the perks of, because this is our 2nd year doing so. So you're coming into something that's already established and wonderful. But basically, our teachers are really seeing now, having the same group of students that they had last year in 5th, now in 6th grade and middle school. They know those students, those relationships are established quickly, and they can take off in 6th grade knowing where those students ended in 5th. So they can attend to those areas needing support, needing enrichment, needing to grow, be it socially or academically. Transitions are much easier because the students are getting used to, switching those classes, and they know how to do that in 5th grade, and that feeds into their 6th grade experience, making that much easier. They're further along with their expectations. It's something where we can go a lot deeper hitting the ground in 6th grade, because they already know content, they know a teacher's style, they know the demands, and the teachers are feeling like by 6th grade, they're able to go a lot deeper, knowing how they can push the students, when they can push the students, and when they need those areas of support. So that scaffolding is there. It's something where they recognize it early on. And in turn, just so you understand that this knowledge we have of your students in 4th grade, that's so shared when we move the students on to 5th grade. It's something where, yes, Alan will be your division head now beginning in 5th grade, but I will still be a part of making sure that transition is smooth, making sure that your children are known, and that everything that we've learned about them through their lower school years is shared in our middle school. Alan and I have worked so closely together. I have such respect and admiration for him. I've learned a lot from him. I hope he's learned a lot from me, but it's a great partnership, and we will really continue this journey together as your students move on to 5th grade. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Alan so he can talk to you further about middle school.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Murata. And Susan, if you could go back to the slide where I'm in front of the 4th grade, and I'll just say this. I think in these conversations throughout this year, I think it's important for you to get to know me a little bit, because you may or may not have been with Ms. Murata for 1 year or multiple years, and there's a comfort level there, and we have a change in front of us. So I think it's important for you to get to know me and a little bit of my philosophy as an educator and what we're talking about in the middle school. And we're really going to work to transition the students and you in a way that is smooth, that is not just sudden, because Ms. Murata just is so talented and passionate about her program. And I know many of you feel that. So hopefully you will feel that with me. And so on the screen, just tell you a little bit about me, because I think, again, it's important. I have a family of 4. My wife is an educator. I've been in education for 10 plus years, admin for 8 plus years at this point. And on the screen are my 2 sons, Asher and Parker, one of which, I'm so excited to say this, is coming here next year. And I can't wait for him to be under Ms. Murata's leadership in the lower school. And then on the far left, you see an ultrasound. We will have 3 kids under 4. and that will be quite the ride. But that's just a little bit about me, excuse me, that I thought I would share because family and community is so important to me. So Susan, can you go back to the video? And quickly, sometimes when you're sitting there, you're saying, oh, I'm going to have a fifth grader, and that fifth grader is going to be in middle school. What is that going to be like? I think it's important to think about the long-term view of that. And I'm going to show a quick video of something that I'm very passionate about, which is student voice. And it's one of my biggest goals in the middle school and something we talk a lot about. Because if students can find their passion, find their voice, and have the confidence to share that, it's so powerful. And we have a great academic program here at Montgomery in the middle school and in the lower school. If we only had a great academic program and we didn't focus on character, confidence, resilience, and students who are showing respect, like Mrs. Murata said, to themselves, to the community, and each other, we'd be missing something. So this video is just the perfect example of student government last year. This is an 8th grader. So it will give you a look of where your child will be at the end of their time at Montgomery, and something we talk a lot about. Thank you, Susan. Can people hear that?
No, we can't.
Nope.
Okay. Well, Susan, we'll go to the next slide and I'll just explain it then. I don't know why that happened.
We'll embed it in the follow-up email. It's a great video.
So basically that was Gabriella Frizz, and this was a speech that she created from scratch, and she was talking about impact and community. And there's two very important things that we talk about in middle school. And essentially what she was saying are the life lessons that she has learned from older students at Montgomery, from her time at Montgomery. And it was centered around impact and failure, and how there are times when she's been presented with maybe negative situations, as she described it in the video, and how she switched her perspective of thinking when she was younger that those quote unquote negative situations were hard, to those negative situations were opportunities for her to grow. And with that switch of perspective, she said, as she went year to year at Montgomery, learning from older students, learning from these situations, that she was taking with her that we have an opportunity to impact our own selves with how we view challenges, and how we impact others with helping them along the way. So I can't do it justice because Gab did so well, but on the screen, and I'll end with this before we talk about the program, is something I think a lot about, and kind of the goals of middle school. Resilient students who are kind, who are confident, who are growth oriented. And on the screen, you see, there's 3 little pictures of ski slopes. And on the left is the bunny slope. On the middle, we could say, is a blue. If you've been skiing, that's somewhat challenging, not too hard. It can be relaxing. And then on the right is the black diamond. So if we think about this, your 5th graders are going into middle school. If they were to live, and this applies to everyone, if they were to live in the stressful zone, which if they're a beginner, going to a black diamond for the first time skiing is going to be very stressful. They may not get the growth immediately because they're living in a place of high stress. If they're on the other end and they're on the bunny slope, which we're going to help them transition to middle school, they're going to be able to gain confidence, to learn the ropes, to learn how to navigate the slopes, and then move into what I think is kind of the sweet spot. It's that blue slope where they are being challenged. They have confidence. They built that from the transition from the bunny slope. And they're going to fluctuate in that zone, in that blue. And that's really the goal of middle school and something I think about a lot. So if we live in life in a stressful place, like a black diamond, we're not quite there yet. Eventually we burn out, we lose confidence, life becomes too much. If we live in the place of everything is effortless, it's easy, I'm on the bunny slope, I've been doing this for a couple years, we're not growing. I would love students to be in a place of the blue slope where they're comfortable, but they're being pushed. And yes, they may fluctuate back or forth, but that's the sweet spot that we're trying to get students kind of live in to learn about themselves, to be resilient, to be kind, and to learn how to navigate education and who they are as learners. Because if we can do that, the great academic program we have will do the rest as they move on to secondary school and beyond. So we are going to transition to a little bit of the program because now Tom, Susan, and I have talked to you now twice, and we thought it would be a great idea to invite some of the people from our team, and we have an amazing team of teachers who will be going into year 3, who are doing a lot of conversation around this transition, our program, and all things Montgomery Middle School. So I'm going to turn it over.
I think that's me. Hi, everyone. I'm Cami Molzette. I teach language arts in 5th and 6th grades. And as Alan just said, this is our 3rd year of this. We're working on the 3rd year of this process. It's been an amazing experience. I've been at Montgomery for 24 years. I've seen the transition from 5th to 6th many, many times and, you know, really looking at what happens in this new program is just incredible, the growth that I've seen with the kids. But I wanted to say that first, I just want to acknowledge that this is a big change, and we know that. We are a really strong team. We definitely understand that the students are coming from a contained classroom. They have a little, you know, spot where they can put all their things, and they don't need quite the same level of organization that they do in our 5th grade program. But that's kind of why what we're doing to help is we have so many different things in place to transition them. And I know we keep using that word, but it is a process, and we completely see that and know that. And so walking the students through the process is part of what we're here for. Just want to say also that we're amazed at how quickly they actually do adjust to it. It's kind of incredible. And when I think back on my 5th graders this year, where they started in the beginning of the year and where they are now, it's just incredible to see the growth in the kids. And they absolutely love it. They are so ready to move from room to room. They need that throughout the day. I think just for their activity level, it's really been a positive, and they actually really enjoy it. But we have some things in place to help with that. And one of them is called our transition camp, which we do in the summer. And it's a few days where it's really the purpose is there's some fun built in, some socialization for the kids, just getting back into the rhythm of school. But also, you know, we know they're coming in very nervous, and we want to kind of help soothe that and teach them things like how to use a planner, how to navigate their schedule, which does feel very different going from class to class, and you know, how to work even in group projects and things like that. There's so much, so many different types of things, and we have a long list much longer, but it's literally introducing the idea and then doing it again and again and again and again and again throughout the whole semester. We literally walk them from class to class, but they figure out the schedule very quickly, but they're not just running off on their own. Teachers are going with them. I mean, there's, you know, there are pieces of lower school and how they functioned in lower school that move into this as they transition, with the goal of helping them become so much more independent. And that happens at different paces. We all and things like that come up. you know, we really are so forgiving and we help them work through that so that they become more comfortable. And I know Pam Clay will talk a lot more about some of the specifics of staying organized and executive functioning. There's a lot of that within this, teaching this. But we, you know, they come in, we have something called the advisory in the morning. They come in, that's the room that is sort of their home base. And they have a teacher there that helps, you know, what we do is show them what their schedule is for that day, help them know what to pack for the day, you know, really kind of have touch points for them so that we give them a suggestion. Okay, the next 2 classes, this is what you need to be prepared for. We do a lot of, you know, taking care of the computers, making sure that they're plugged in at the end of the day and things like that. They come back to us at the very end for dismissal information and things like that. So they have a place to go that's a touch point, but you should know as parents that their advisor sort of like functions like a homeroom parent. I always say that, parent teacher. I'm a parent also, so I think that way. But I have to say that we are also your touch point. So, so if you need anything, if you have questions or concerns or anything like that, we are here for you as well through the whole process. So they go from class to class, and they have different teachers to learn and different, you know, ways that homework is going to be uploaded and things like that. We go through all that process, but in language arts and in social studies, we really focus on basic skills. I think every class does that to set them up for success as they go through their schooling in the next years. So speaking, writing, reading, listening, all the important skills we work on. And they become more independent through the process. So one thing I wanted to say is just personally, having seen this transition the last couple of years, I think this is just an incredible program. And the way that we're doing this is just helping the students become so much more independent, and what everything that Alan just said, resilient, and, you know, with safety nets, we absolutely help them move to the next level. And so it's been a real joy for me, and I'm so excited that we've done this this program. I'm really excited to have us all moving into middle school too. I think that'll be just a great next step. But all those transition points and all that, it's the things are in place to make it as smooth as possible and to help the students as they grow. So thank you. I should probably mention that I'm going to be handing this over to Mr. Hambrick, who's going to talk a little bit about the math program. I think you're still muted.
I got so excited, I started talking without unmuting myself. All right, here we go. I'll say it again. I'm so excited to meet all of you, parents and caregivers, the students. It's really fun to walk around campus and sort of informally introduce myself and say hi to some of the 4th grade students and lower school students on campus. Touching base with Miss Bala and Miss Batson, and seeing these young, excited little sponges. I'm so excited to get to know everybody. The math curriculum is, it's new for the 2nd year now at Montgomery. It's called Illustrative Math. And I love the slogan, learn math for life. I think math is so relevant, and problem solving and critical thinking can be applied really not just in the classroom, but outside in real life, as we all know. So Illustrative Math does a beautiful job with that. The curriculum bridges extremely well with the Singapore math program that the lower school is currently using. Mr. Anzaldo and I, Mr. Anzaldo is another upper school math teacher. We do vertical planning with the lower school teachers to talk about scope and sequence, to talk about different skills and collaborate on best practice in math. And one of the things that we really hone in on is establishing a purpose for learning. and talking about what concepts really mean in terms of math. We all grew up probably learning long division with dividing and spending a few weeks on it. And there's different ways to learn division and the concept of division, whether it's partial quotients or with representations, and understanding and digging into a deep understanding of the skills and concepts is really the illustrative math vision and mission that they have. It's very student-centered, focused on exploration and investigation. The activities and the lessons involve cooperative learning and a lot of problem solving. The higher level thinking includes analyzing, critiquing. The students are discussing in class different solutions, and we're creating. So we have projects through the year, performance-based tasks where the students are working in groups, and that is sometimes digital and sometimes it's paper-based as well. It's a really well-written curriculum, and the scope and sequence is fluid from 5th through 8th. So the skills and the concepts, there are some, it is weaved throughout a little bit, but it's a pretty smooth curriculum as the students go through the upper school. And like I said, it bridges extremely well with the current curriculum of Singapore Math. This year in 4th grade, the students have been placed in 2 different math groups, and the upper school is a continuation of that model. So there's 2 math classes for 5th grade. There's a standard 5N math class, and those students will be in a standard 5th grade math book. By 8th grade, they will be taking Algebra 1, which is a very rigorous track, and the illustrative math program breaks down the skills that the students will need for secondary school with Algebra 1 to be able to place either into or out of the Algebra 1 for secondary school. And the 5L track, which is an accelerated track, it's bumped up to, in 5th grade, they use an accelerated 6 math book. The goal for that program is geometry by 8th grade. That being said, I identify a lot of different skills and areas that need to be backfilled. So I don't want parents thinking, oh my gosh, how are we going from 4th grade to an accelerated 6 book? There's a lot of planning that's involved to set the students up for success. There's a lot of data that we use to identify areas of weakness and strengths so that we can engage and differentiate appropriately along the way. The quote that I think is important is that IM emphasizes a deep understanding of the mathematical concepts as opposed to memorizing equations and procedures. So it's very authentic, and the students are in the driver's seat. We're facilitating and guiding, but the exploration and the discovery it makes math super enjoyable and relevant. The students can own it and really start their mathematical journey with a lot of fun. So that's the new math program that the students will be working on next year. And if there's any questions about the scope and sequence or textbooks, please let me know. There's a couple of pictures here that I think are pretty fun. In the top left, you can see we use a math book. And so the students will have a consumable math book that we use and they take it home. There's also an online version. But I'm a big fan of blended learning. I think that it addresses different learning styles, and it helps the students bridge the concrete to the abstract. It bridges that concept in a very, very engaging way. And you can see the smiles on their faces. There's a picture of angle relationships that we discovered outside on the sidewalk, as you can see. And there's a project with a student with a Matchbox car, scale factors. And we went out in the parking lot and we cross-referenced our data with the scale factor of 1 to 64. And the students were amazed to check their calculations in real time with really big cars and not just the Matchbox cars. One of the highlights this year in a unit where we discovered ratios and proportions was making banana bread. The students they had to scale a recipe up, and they had to write proportions for a recipe. And we went into the dining hall and we made banana bread and we tested it out. I think Mr. McManus can attest that it actually came out pretty good. The students and they had a blast doing it. And the mathematical thinking and the vocabulary, communicating mathematically is a really big emphasis. And being able to do that through these various activities is a really important way and critical way to assess and also be able to help the students move forward in the most productive way that we can. So that's math. It's awesome. You're going to love it. It's so much fun. The next thing I'm going to talk about is I'm just going to touch on is sports and some of the after school activities. Is there another slide? Thank you very much. So there's 3 seasons in the upper school, and there's sports, but also there's art and tech options as well. In the fall, there's ceramics that Miss Nauer offers, as well as the sports include. This year we had soccer and cross country. Practices begin at 3:15 right after school, and then the students dismiss at 4:15. During practices, we ask students to wear Montgomery gear, shorts and a t-shirt, please. And the games, they're 3:30 for varsity, and JV will play right after that. It's a really wonderful program where everybody can participate, regardless of your skill level. And the focus on athletics at Montgomery is teamwork, of course, skill acquisition, regardless of your ability, adaptability, which I think is one of the soft skills that's transferable also into the classroom and into life in general, and having fun. I have really 2 wonderful stories. When I coached soccer this fall, a student that I taught was pretty apprehensive about playing soccer, good athlete, really good athlete, and just apprehensive. And by 2 or 3 weeks in, I got an email from the mom and dad saying that they just loved the soccer experience, and the culture that we create at Montgomery within the teams is healthy and inclusive. We celebrate the individuality. We recognize hustle, and we teach sportsmanship, which is critical. Another student at a sort of extreme opposite, at a higher level competition soccer player might think, well, why soccer at Montgomery? You know, I'm playing on this travel team, this super high level team, competing all over the East Coast. So what's the gain? What's sort of in it for me? This student became a leader, and the leadership that they developed over the soccer season playing for Montgomery was recognized and noticed on the competition team by coaches and parents. And so I guess the point of what I'm trying to say is sports may not be for everybody, but Montgomery sports is for everybody. And it's a phenomenal experience. And we're excited to offer that as well. Thank you. If you have any questions, sorry if I talked a lot, I'm sorry, but.
No, Charles, thank you. I just want to add, because I know it was on the mind of a lot of our students and a lot of the parents, you have asked me about this, but just to make clear that in the 5th grade year, this after school option is an option, right? It's optional.
Yeah.
Students can leave at 3:15. We recognize, that this is a big change for our families. And while, it's exciting and the kids seem really excited about joining this and being a part of this part of the middle school, but it is optional. Okay. And I think we're moving on to Jake.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Jake Kratz. This is my 6th year here at Montgomery. I'm going to talk a little bit about the science program and some of the skills that we really focus on. So science in 5th and 6th, it's a lab-based program. We're consistently doing labs, experiments, demonstrations, and really simulating any concepts that we can throughout class. And part of my philosophy is a discovery approach. So whether, it's a quick lab or a demo at the beginning of class, and kind of use that as a discussion, and allow the students to be inquisitive, and then try to work through the concepts of what we're currently learning. I like to introduce the scientific method early in the year, but it's really weaved into the curriculum throughout the year. We're consistently referring back to the scientific process and really learning all of the skills as it fits to the content. We spend a lot of time earlier in the year in 5th grade walking around campus, learning how to make detailed observations in our ecology unit. We'll go down to the creek and try to observe biotic and abiotic factors and how they affect one another. And then in the winter months, we move into our physics unit, where we focus more on learning how to write a hypothesis and making predictions. We'll discuss density, buoyancy. The students right now are currently building a raft that will have to float, and then we'll start adding additional weight to it. And through that, it's trying to figure out how the boat or raft will balance and what materials, and considering density and the shape throughout the whole process. They're really eager for that. They're really excited. After this project, we're going to move on to Bernoulli's principle and talk about how airplanes fly. And to kind of demonstrate their understanding of that, they're going to have to build an airplane, and they all bring them in, and it's a big contest. And again, it's a lot of fun, trial and error, kind of going through that scientific process. And then we finish in 5th grade with a unit on animals, discussing characteristics of animals, introducing the 6 kingdoms, and then we finish with an earthworm dissection. And we also do an owl pellet dissection earlier in the year. And again, those are 2 fun. Through the curriculum, this science skill set is continuously building and developing. They're learning how to collect data. So with the raft and the airplane projects, right, it's analyzing the data, interpreting the data. We'll use that data and kind of create graphs, and just going through the whole process of the scientific method. And my goal for 5th grade, moving into 6th, is just having a solid foundation for all the science skills. And then in 6th grade, we start really putting all of those skills together and completing whole lab write-ups with research, a hypothesis, data tables, graphs, and then start learning how to write full conclusions. And 6th grade currently just finished up building a coffee cup. We were talking about heat transfer, and they were using different materials and trying to keep the coffee as hot as long as possible. And again, this is kind of their first whole lab write-up in 6th grade. A lot of students will hear me say that the answer is just kind of half of what I'm looking for. I'm stressing and really putting emphasis on getting the students to support their answer, proving why their answer is correct, using supporting evidence and all the concepts that we've been talking about. And for me, by being able to do that, it's not just memorizing, but it's really applying the content and understanding everything fully. I focus on building the skills as a scientist, but also, just the skills of being a successful learner. So focusing on how to prepare for assessments. We use our planners daily, and I can have them write, hey, we have a test coming up, or a celebration of knowledge, because that's what I like to call them, because we really are celebrating everything that they learned. But they can write study in their planner and get home and be like, well, okay, what does studying really look like? Right. So I am very conscientious about the study guides that I prepare for them. Early on in 5th grade, they're very structured, almost like kind of filling in the blanks. And as we go through 5th, move into 6th, they'll start generating more of the study guides on their own. But it's the skill of how to develop study guides and for preparing for assessment. So, Is it flashcards? Is it online flashcards that I create with Quizlet? Or is it just reading over your notes or having someone quiz you? And we all study differently and prepare for assessments, and learning that skill now will help set them up for 7th and 8th and moving into high school. The last part that I wanted to add is a little bit of homework. 5th graders get homework. The homework will increase as we progress through the year. But with homework, I really put a lot of emphasis on self-advocating and asking for help when you need it from teachers. We're here to help. We want to help, utilizing study hall to the best that they can, and time management. Coming up with a plan on what assignments that they need to finish now, and a plan for the longer assignments throughout. And all the teachers in the 5th, 6th grade team are really focusing on organization, self-advocating, and we're really trying to align with all of these skills. I just want to wrap up with some science highlights. Here are some of what they found in the owl pellets. The picture in the middle is a project that we started like a year and a half ago, maybe even longer, but we planted around 150 trees last spring. And that's going to be an ongoing project. 5th grade, 6th grade will be down there with tree maintenance, figuring out which ones are still alive, and replanting any trees that need to be replanted. 6th grade is currently raising trout. We got about 200 rainbow trout eggs delivered, and we hatch them, or they hatch, and we compare the water levels in the creek to the tank and do a lot of water testing around that, and just trying to get them aware of our environment and what we can do to have a healthy impact on it. And one last thing, 6th grade went bowling a few weeks ago, and they brought stopwatches, meter sticks, and calculators, and we, just by having the mass of the bowling ball, we were able to calculate potential energy, kinetic energy. We're working on the acceleration and the force that the ball hit the pins with, and really just trying to make the science relatable for them in a fun way that will stick. Thank you.
Thanks, Jake. We'll move on to Mrs. Clay.
Great. I will be the next slide. Perfect. Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Pam Clay. I know many of 3rd grade parents. Maybe I taught your child. But I have the awesome job of being the learning specialist this year. And I've been having such a great time getting to work with so many students in all the grades. And obviously, some of you know also I'm a parent, and I can attest that these teachers truly are committed and to this program, and seeing my own child go from 5th to 6th, this has been such a valuable thing. So I fully believe in this program as well. With executive functioning and organization, I get to have regular lessons with your students. And actually, I've already started with 4th grade. I've been doing it for a few months now. I go into the 4th grade classroom monthly for plan lessons, and then I do drop-ins also. But with 5th grade, they are going to have regular executive functioning classes as well, 6th grade, 7th grade, and so on. One of the things we really are going to hit right from the bat in the beginning of the year is planners, right? It's like, I can't say it enough. I'm going to help, along with their advisors and their teachers, I'm going to help the students learn how to truly use a planner. Not that it's just this book that they carry around because their teachers are telling them they need it, but why it's valuable, how to use it, and the ways of using it, right? Not just writing the assignment in one location, how we map out when we have long-term assignments, how we backwards plan, how we can use color coding systems, and also like figuring out what best works for your child, because every child's different. So some of the students in 5th grade in the beginning of the year took on the advice of like naming their planner. Others did not, because they felt like if they name their planner, it's going to make them responsible and they're always going to, you know, keep track of that planner. Some students like the color code system in one way. Some students like to flag with little sticky notes. So we work to figure out what's the best way, but the key is really using it. And that goes also like where we bridge between school and home, right? So what they're learning in school, how to use the planner, it's so important that you help support that at home. You know, you might have certain ways that are really helpful and you can offer those, but if they find their groove and they're doing a great job with it, then we'll stick with their plan, you know, of how to use it and support that at home. And it's a great thing that, you know, you're looking in their planner too. Are they checking off their assignments? Are, you know, see how they plan and do that on a regular basis until you truly feel like, hey, they really know what they're doing. I think they've reached that independent moment now and they're succeeding. We'll also work with the online learning management system. This year we're using Canvas, and that's where we look at what assignments are due. Are you submitting assignments? Do you see your to-do list in the corner? Just trying to help them navigate what's an easy way to find, you know, what you worked on in class. So the big thing with that is trying to help them see that using a planner and having an online learning management system go hand in hand. So they have a dual system, right? They have two ways of helping them stay organized. So they write in their planner because, you know, there's evidence behind. We want them to know by writing in it, it goes right to your brain. But also your assignments, do they match up? Do you see what you wrote? And is it also online? And then that's the double way. It's right, more accountability for themselves. So we'll teach them how to do that. Study hall was talked about, but I also have study hall, you know, hours, right? So during that time, I have the opportunity to work with students. The teachers and I work really closely together. And if students need, you know, help with anything or, you know, assignment wise, I'm here as a resource for them. If students need some help and extra help with like organization or looking through their binders, or, hey, I need help with the planner more, then I'm here for that too. I'm currently working with some 6th graders with, you know, making sure that they're really up to date with using the online learning management system. So I'm a great resource, just as the advisors and the teachers have an open email for all of you. I do as well. And I welcome you to, you know, if you say, hey, at home, like I'm seeing that my child like turned in a couple of things late, or they're just like, you know, you needing a little extra support, like shoot me an email and I'm happy to also do, you know, touch base with your child individually or in small groups. It's great for, you know, all of us here to really be able to support your child. I talked about a little bit with the collaboration with teachers, but I'm pretty much in the know of when your students or your kids are going to be taking tests. I'm in the know and they have long-term projects, so that in my executive functioning classes, I'm talking about with them. I'm, you know, it's an ongoing conversation that I'll say, hey, 5th grade, you know, how are you doing with this project? How are you doing? Did you start studying, you know, for this? You know, I can, you know, we're talking about, you know, you have homework due tomorrow and you have a project due in 3 weeks. Get that homework done tonight for your tomorrow. You don't need to start on that project tonight. So there's just that collaboration with the teachers key for me in the lessons I do with my students. Some key topics, this won't be it, but for the executive functioning is organization, test taking, and study strategies. Just like Mr. Kratz said, like, what is studying? So we talk about that in the beginning of the year, like, what is your best method, right? And maybe if you try a method and it's not successful, you got to try another one, but giving them options and like teaching them how to do. Prioritization is huge, like starting tasks and in what order. Time management goes along with that. We will goal set. Being flexible thinkers is huge. That's like some of these pictures you see, well, I'll have them work together, and right then they have to be flexible thinkers, because you got to be if you're working with other people. Assessing your working memory, self-monitoring, checking, managing impulsivities. And that goes with learning. It's not, you know, what you think of like a blurting out of a word. It's just like a in your daily schooling, I'm going to help them to understand like what an impulsivity might be and how they can manage that when working. But executive functioning and organization is huge. It's just as crucial as, you know, your core subjects, because these are our life skills that we're building. And I know like we're all adults here and we still have room for growth in these areas, right? So for them to start working on this now is key. And I'm really excited to work with your students again next year.
Thank you. All amazing teachers. As you can see, we need to work on their passion, right? They're just awesome. I am just so continue to be amazed working with this team of teachers and seeing them every day coming with, again, just such passion for their subject matter. And this is just something that the students clearly pick up on. They're excited to go into these different classrooms each day because you can see they are true experts in their field. And this is only, you know, part of the team. We also have Mrs. Kelly teaching social studies. We all couldn't be here because, you know, the students are here and need us and they're in classes, but there are other people in this team who you will meet eventually as well. So, but we want to have some time for questions. I know this team of teachers need to leave to get on with their day with the students soon, but perhaps a couple of questions for them even while they're still here. Feel free to either put it in the chat or shout it out. And recognizing we gave you a lot of information, so you might not have any questions. That's okay too.
Hey, Susan, it's McLean Todd.
Thanks.
Hey, just real quick, I guess one of the concerns that Laurel and I have had is just trying to get the girls to grow up too fast. So having that kind of homeroom teacher with more of a personal touch, and then also, you know, opportunities for just free play and recess and things like that. So can you speak to that and how we're managing that in the 5th grade middle school model?
Yeah, I'm gonna to let Cami, why don't you answer that? Because you do this firsthand so beautifully. You and Mrs. Kelly currently are the homeroom teachers. And then just keep in mind next year, the students in 5th grade will be in advisor groups, which will be even smaller and more intimate groups. But Cami, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, happy to address that. We are very aware of that transition too, and feel you know, I'm sure like you do as parents too, how important childhood is and how important maintaining that childhood for the students. So it is a dance all year long. We're here, the teachers are here to really keep things you know, on an even keel and help students navigate as they are growing older. They do have free play time, but it is not quite as concentrated as it is in lower school. It's 2 times actually during the day. They have some recess, usually from 10 to 10:15, and then right before lunchtime they have about 20 minutes of playtime. And even within some of our, you know, moments during the day, sometimes there are times when the students have, you know, a few moments to interact and play, just even transitioning from place to place, from class to class. That is, it really is an enormous amount of time when you add that all together, how much sort of, you know, unstructured time they're always with an adult, always with a teacher, but they do have time to interact with each other. I think that you know, one of our goals through the year is to help students navigate social interactions. And as you know, as every parent knows, they're getting a tricky stage in their lives because a lot's going on for them, and they are maturing at different paces. And so, you know, I think that that's where I can speak for Mrs. Kelly and myself. We have, you know, an eye on everything that's going on with the kids, and they are so cute at this stage because if we didn't see it, they come and tell us everything, which is so appreciated. And we really try to help them navigate. The other thing I just have to say is that we have Taryn Conroy, Dr. Conroy on campus for anything, if it's something that's beyond our scope, not just a small thing between students, or, it's something that's a little bit bigger. Dr. Conroy is always available to come talk to students, to talk to us, to talk to them individually, talk to them as groups. I just have to say, we feel really supported in that too. So I hope, did that answer the question you had about
Yeah,
this?
I think so. There's a question in the chat. Is there like outside time as well? So just
Yeah.
kind of
Thank
wait,
you.
add
Yeah.
on to that. But
Yeah.
Sure.
I'm going to let Alan touch upon that. Thank you.
Yeah, we have outside time that is, less structured, like recess, where there obviously is adult supervision. But many of our teachers, just like Jake said, are outside within their curriculum, focusing on outdoor learning, which is just one of our goals as a school anyways. And it's also mixed into some of the advisory lessons that we do. Like, for example, 8th grade did the balloon activity, where basically they have different balloons. They have to keep them in the air in different groups, and then they have to create a trolley where they keep the balloon in between each of them. So we mix it up with both structured class time focused on outdoor learning that's connected to the curriculum, and then less, structure that's not necessarily connected to the academic curriculum, still within our character SEL curriculum. So they are getting time both in and outside. Then also some of our teachers add in brain breaks, right? So we know that if a student is sitting for 45 minutes at the, straight, they're going to need some transition time, and they're going to get that walking from class to class. And also teachers add it into their classes as well as necessary, because it's important at this age.
great, thank you.
Yeah, good question. Thank you.
Because we're at the top of the hour, I'll drop another question in the chat about lockers and backpacks and stuff, but appreciate everyone's time.
Thank you.
Alan, do you want to touch upon that? Just lockers a little bit, and backpacks and the managing of that, and recognizing it is the top of the hour and some of you might need to leave. And I know teachers, you need to leave in the next few minutes too. So feel free to do so as you need to.
Yeah, so lockers.
See a hand also, Susan.
Oh, thank you. Okay.
5th and 6th has their lockers, and we really try to add in time throughout the day, especially in 5th grade. Cami and Denise do a nice job of that as of now, but it is a transition. And some students, I will say, use their locker as they progress more frequently than others. And again, I think they're going to learn what works best for them. But especially in the beginning of the year, we work on it in transition camp. It sticks for some and it works really well for some, and it doesn't for others. And they elect to carry more than some of their classmates, which is okay. But in 5th and 6th, we try to work in time for them to go to their lockers. And with 5th grade, it's much more structured with supervision, especially in the beginning of the year. And then as they move to 7th and 8th, they've got it down. And 8th grade has lockers in Gresh, so they're right near the majority of their classes, and they probably use it the less or the least. So it fluctuates, but they're there. We talk about it, and I think students find their own groove and what works for them.
Carrie, you have a question.
Hi. I think that we started to touch upon it with the first question that was asked, but I kind of wanted to clarify that since the 5th graders are going to be in technically middle school, what is their interaction with the 7th and 8th graders? How does that work for sports buses and stuff like that?
Yeah. So currently, how we have it set up, the 5th grade, if you think about the times throughout the day where, like recess, where there is supervision, but it's less structured, but that might be a tough time to just throw 5th grade in and have them fully integrated. That's why in the morning recess, they kind of have their own area with each other. And then in the afternoon recess at lunch, they have recess at a different time than we do. So they have recess, then have come join us for lunch. When they join us for lunch, they're in their own pods. So they're not integrated with 7th and 8th graders yet in the school year. So we're being thoughtful about, okay, especially the less structured times, what can we create? What type of environment we can create to make it a safe space? And at the same time, if 7th and 8th graders have a lot to offer for the younger students. So we'll be working on, okay, what can we, in a more structured way in those times, give 7th and 8th graders kind of leadership opportunities to be good role models. But right now, we are thoughtful about what that looks like. And with the busing, we're going to have to give that some more thought, but obviously working with our coaches for the students who elect to play sports next year and what that will look like after school, and be thoughtful about that as coaches. And we'll work with Carolyn Blair, our athletic director, on that.
Yeah, I think that part of what appeals to me about Monty, and always has, is this concept of keeping childhood, right? It's right on your front page. So I enjoy that. And I think that my son is thriving in that environment. I am concerned about that mix of, I had an 8th grader at Monty, and I know what a huge difference in just everything, right? Social, emotional, all of that was. And, there's also the whole social media aspect. I'm so sorry, my cleaning crew is here. They're right outside the door. But there's also the whole, technology aspect of that. And 8th graders have phones, especially with being on the buses and during other activities. So that is a concern of mine. So
it's a great concern. And in fact, we're making this change not because we want to rush them or move them anywhere faster, but because we feel like this is the kind of attention that they need at this stage, exactly where they are. And we've seen it, and it's exciting. 5th grade is a big time in their lives, and they are all encountering things differently. But what this allows us to do, and has allowed over the last 2 years, is to norm their experiences even a little bit more, and to begin to talk to them about some of the activities and things that they'll be getting into, while still really focusing on the fact that these are little guys. These are 10, 11-year-olds, and it's a special time. But they feel that sense of ownership. And what we see is it's developing that resiliency and that strength. But yeah, they're very different from 8th graders. And frankly, they're different than 6th graders and 4th graders, right? It's a really key transition, and this program has allowed us to dig in on that. But I thank you for asking that, because that's what we're about. It's about preserving childhood, and this is what they need at this stage from everything that we know.
is there more of an emphasis on combining the 5th and 6th graders than there is on kind of lumping them all into a 4-grade pod?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and that's why we had the 5, 6, 7, 8 team and teachers that are with them. And the other times where 5th grade may be with 8th graders are at assemblies where we do just middle school assemblies and talk about our SEL program around character, community, and leadership. So we promise you we will. This is on our minds. I know it's on many of your minds, just like Tom said, and we will be very thoughtful about what places and situations they're with the older students, while still giving the opportunity for 5th graders to teach 8th graders and 8th graders to teach 5th graders.
Okay.
Thank you for sharing that.
Sorry, one last thing about that specifically. For lunch, are the 5th and 6th graders going to start eating lunch together so that the 5th graders are not alone? Is there any plan going forward to do that?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I can speak to that too. And just this year, our 5th graders are eating in the dining room with middle school. And it's gone super well, because the beauty, as you all know, with our dining program is the students are eating with, different teachers. So they're getting to know the teachers on that level. But what we've done, still allowing them, to have that 5th grade kind of table head experience. The 5th grade are eating with other fifth graders. And that really helps them, you know, in socializing with themselves. And then, you know, eventually weaving in some sixth graders, but keeping that special and unique to their grade too.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I have little me outside my door if you hear a lot of noise. Kristen, I think your hand is up.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
I actually had two questions. One is about math and the other one is about field trips, which Mr. V, you apparently really got Avery excited about the other day. So thank you. Is math, when you are placed in your math class for fifth grade, do you stay in that same track till eighth grade, or is it assessed each year? And then my question about overnight field trips is, what does that look like from a parent perspective?
Yeah, so I'll start with the trips. Fifth grade will not take overnight trips just because they're in middle school. We just don't feel that developmentally they're ready to handle a couple nights away. So during the trip week, we'll do, excuse me, day trips that are connected to what's happening. For example, last year they went to the Penn Museum with Mrs. Kelly and further studied what they were working on in social studies. In sixth grade, they go for 2 nights. So they go to a camp. So again, we're trying to build what's appropriate developmentally, in my opinion, for middle schoolers. And then 7th and 8th, they go away for 3 nights. So from a parent perspective, they are going on overnight trips. 6th grade is more of an outdoor learning, leadership focus. 7th grade goes to Virginia, and we're going to keep that one. Where we hit DC on the way back. So, and then 8th grade has been going to Boston, and our hope is to really create an awesome 8th grade trip. And our current one is awesome now, but to create a signature trip that people can really look forward to, that's fully integrated into our curriculum with the eye of experiential learning. So those are kind of the trips that are happening now. And we're with students the whole time, and we have very clear about expectations and who's in what room and how we pick the rooms and the amount of nights they're off, and all the activities relate to either leadership, bonding, or what's happening in the classroom.
I'll touch upon the math. So Kristen, yes, as you know, with the student section in math this year in 4th grade, we've moved some students, during the year when it seems appropriate and it seems like a good move for the students. So it continues to fluctuate, and assessed each year. Sometimes students will show a need to move, and we're very clear about what's involved in that. And those are a lot of conversations I know with Alan, with Charles, with myself in 4th grade. So it continues to move along, but just because the students in one section now, it doesn't mean that they'll remain in that section through all of their years in middle school.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah. These are great questions. I know that there was a question in the chat about backpack weights pushing. I will advise you all to invest, when you're purchasing new backpacks. Rolly backpacks seem to be a really popular way to go with our 5th graders this year, and I think they've enjoyed that. And we're certainly looking at lockers and the best use of those, and really helping the kids to manage, not put everything for the week in their backpacks. Like, that is crazy. They'll keep gym clothes in there for months if we would let them. So warning to all parents, make sure your kids are bringing home their backpacks and their PE clothes for washing now and then. But yeah, it's a constant thing that we're instructing. That's part of what Pam does too with her executive functioning skills, and helping the students to organize themselves and recognizing what they need for the day in their backpacks and in their lockers, and when to switch and that kind of thing. So it's an ongoing conversation. So thank you for asking about that. Someone else asked about PE uniforms. They do, just as I just said, they do start to change. That's a big step too. Every one of these things, big, right? And every one of these things, it takes us like a good month to create those routines and habits, and it's done with a lot of supervision It's not just off to the races come 5th grade, you know, it's something that is really discussed before that first day of changing with Mr. Ruck and Mrs. Blair. So all of these items are done with a lot of held hands for our students, and our teachers are there for supervision, you know, and the kids really look forward to showing how responsible they can be. And that's through a lot of talks about integrity and everything else that we've been talking about all of these years. Any other questions? Carrie, is your hand up again, or is that just, oh, Diana, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm just trying to picture what your typical day looks like for these kids. Based upon what Mrs. Molzette says, she talked about, you know, in the morning, you go in, you see your advisory, you know, they help you kind of set up your day, navigate your schedule. So then that led me to wonder, how does that work? I mean, I assume because you have an entire lower school, you're not having bells ringing in between classes. Is the teacher saying, okay, math is over, go to your next class? Or are they expected to, you know, be looking at their watch and managing the time and figuring out where to be and so forth and so on? Like, I'm just trying to picture, how does that look? And are they all going in their individual classes? Are they going to different places? Are they going as a group? Is a teacher walking them?
Yeah. Susan, you want me? I'll take this one.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a good question. So structurally with our schedule, just to give you an idea, they start in the morning with their homeroom. There's 2 classes. Obviously on a chapel day, there'll be a chapel, then 1 class. Then they have a break, which is their recess. They have 2 classes, study hall lunch, 2 classes, and then after school activity. So every day it's predictable. 2 classes, break, 2 classes, break, 2 classes, afternoon. 5th grade, they are moving to different spaces, but they're not on the same necessarily schedule of walking pattern as 6th grade. Teachers still walk 5th grade to classes. So they are getting outside, but it's not, hey, math is over, go to the music. Music teacher meets halfway, they hand off, and we're walking students to class in between. We do believe that that structure for 5th grade is still important, while giving them the opportunity to break off into different classes and they get movement throughout the day. So we help them with that and their supervision in between classes. Susan, anything to add? Or did I answer your question in full?
I think just that, yeah, they are walked, you know, we're not just, again, they're so used to that in lower school, right? That the teacher is there walking with them. And again, having that moment of interaction, you know, that casual interaction to establish these relationships that as educators, we all hold so dear. So that continues on. Because they're not quite ready to have that newfound freedom. And we recognize that, and we want to be there for them and just watching them and helping them along the way. So it's an important step for sure.
Thank you for that. I mean, the main concern I have, even as an adult here, sitting here listening to Mrs. Clay talk about the executive functioning and the calendars and this and that, it's already causing me stress in my brain, let alone a 10, 11-year-old. I feel like this seems to be a lot of undue stress at an earlier age than it may be necessary, but maybe they're, you know, I'm assuming you have a rhyme and reason for it, maybe to give them that extra year. How are you managing that stress level at that point? Because I'm sure some kids handle it better than others. I mean, we know that, but is that something that has been dealt with in this year and I guess somewhat last year?
Yes, for sure. And I think as the adults and for myself, like it does sound daunting, right? But for the kids, they are amazing. I mean, by day 2, they like know their schedules and it's wonderful. I think they like that challenge. I think they're so energized with like, oh my gosh, I'm changing classes. This is so cool. I'm not stuck in one classroom all day. Not that they feel stuck, but you know what I'm saying? Like they like being on the move. So I think in that respect, they're so excited by it that they don't feel the stress. And I think that's just credit to our teachers and to Alan, just in the way that we help them, you know, through that, especially in that first month. Like that's all we're doing is really helping them. And it's a gentle transition. And I think that that's what makes 6th grade so successful, because we don't have to do that transition again. Like they hit the ground running. now in 6th grade, rather than wasting that time, so to speak, you know, in the beginning of the 6th grade model. So I think their eagerness and the teachers nurture and help that journey along so beautifully that it really doesn't feel stressful for them. I mean, even homework initially is not given because we want them to just really be thinking about the organization and with Pam's help, you know, how to build those skills. That's their homework, you know, getting to know their schedule and feeling comfortable during study hall of how to go and talk to a teacher. These are all things that we really work on within that first month and longer, you know, if needed for some. And if some need that individual help with executive functioning skills, that's the beauty of having Pam Clay now, you know, and she can have those one-on-one sessions or push in and help these kids who just need to help in packing up at the end of the day, you know, that kind of thing. We could still be very prescriptive in meeting those individual needs. And Alan, you might have more to add to that.
I think you said it well. And, you know, going back to what I said in the beginning of the conversation, I mean, school, all children are going to have moments of stress and moments where everything feels too much. And I think what I love about Montgomery and just being on different teams at schools that are similar than this, the size of our community and the size of our teaching teams allows teachers to be so in coordination with each other and in touch with what's happening with students. It's really special. So for those moments where it does feel like too much, which in my philosophy should happen at some point, because if it doesn't happen, they don't learn how to manage the stress, work through it, make a plan, and grow from it. We're with them. In my year and a half, I haven't seen any huge situations where there's, you know, complete meltdown around academics because of stress. So I want you to know that we're thoughtful about it. We talk about it. We look out for it. And on some level, the stress will be healthy when it arises. And if it becomes too much, then we jump in and make a plan with families.
And I have one last question for now. Have you found in the last year, from last year and this year, have you seen any kind of increase in disciplinary issues as the kids transition to middle school? You know, with all these changes that are going on and them trying to find their social groups, and now they have an audience that maybe thinks that's funny. And as you get older, you tend to take greater risks from that perspective. Is that something that maybe happens in the 5th grade level, the 6th grade level, and then obviously it calms down because then they realize, well, I have expectations to, you know, that I have to maintain. But is that something that you've seen that you're willing to share?
Yeah. I would say that the 6th grade group from the year of the 5-6 program is having so much success behaviorally. And just, I'll go beyond behaviorally, just routine and expectation. And we talk a lot about that within advisory and within assemblies that 8th grade leads, because I believe that behavior, and I've been doing this for, you know, my last role as a full dean. And I don't believe in just punitive. I believe in positive behavior that's integrated in with what we do day in and day out, and messaging that comes with students. So I would say we have not seen an increase. I would say that this allows, like Susan said in the beginning, a smoother transition because they're getting comfortable with teachers within the routines, and then they're just building on them from 5 to 6 and 7 to 8, which I feel like because they're building on it, it takes that stress away, and it's one less thing to worry about it because they're acclimated and they can focus on what we're asking them to focus on. I think behaviorally in general, we've grown a lot from last year to this year, and we're going to continue to do so with, you know, how we're doing it on a positive, you know, perspective of building expectations and norms.
I'll jump in because Alan's been here. We brought him in at the same time we made this change. And I would say it's our experience, and Susan's experience is a lot more rich than mine. That 5th grade is a time when kids try on new things. and that was true before the change too. They feel themselves getting older. They feel that they experiment with new ideas, not all of them negative, but they try new things. And I think the power of this 5-6 is that the sixth graders really present a nice model for them. And they have like just that little bit more of responsibility and independence that the fifth graders say, well, to get to there, I've got to model myself. And I think the message is when you come to middle school chapels, and I encourage you to come to a middle school chapel or 2 or 3 or 4 down the stretch here, and you see the messages. And you see the messages that come from the 8th graders who speak. You see the messages that come from Alan and the teachers. It really is about the culture. And so the 5th graders want to try on that culture as opposed to kind of creating some of their own new ways of doing things. Susan, you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. Can you hear me? I just did something. Okay. I was just going to add that what I have seen too with Alan is he is so clear in his expectations and works so hard on this. And within the advisor topics, he has a Monday full on, middle school meeting where, they're gathering together. He talks about how some aspect of character within those talks that I'm always sitting in my office like, oh, that was good. And I'll jot it down because I want to convey those same messages. But I think that's his leadership. And I'm seeing, such positivity with that. But as Tom just said, always in 5th grade, they're going to make mistakes. They are really pushing the pre-adolescence zone, and they are, trying different things, trying to be sometimes something they're not. And it's our job as educators, and Alan and I work really closely with this and talking to the kids and helping them learn, from those mistakes, because they are mistakes. And the most important thing is that they're learning and don't repeat those mistakes, as they go along. So I think that will continue to be the case, but not in a big way that it's something that we worry about. It's just developmentally appropriate. And it's actually a really fun stage of their little lives. Anything else? Did something just come in the chat?
Yeah, they do carry laptops from class to class. 5th grade is not taking them home. 6th grade doesn't take them home in the beginning, and then they take them home a few weeks after the school year starts. And they change with the same peer group for PE, and it's supervised. Mr. Rock and Mrs. Blair's office are right outside the lockers rooms.
Well, this has been a robust conversation. Thank you for staying on with the questions. And as I said, we did record, so we'll get this loaded up and sent out, and hopefully the video that Alan sent as an example too. Question is, will there be another opportunity for community discussion? I think we talked about a third opportunity in the spring in this series, but I will also say we're here all the time. Anything you want to talk about? The beauty of our school is that, we teach kids in these numbered batches, and we say that they're in lower school or they're in middle school, but we teach the individual, and that means, partnering with families. So anything that's on your mind, any questions, you want to have further conversations with a teacher, a particular question, just reach out to Susan, reach out to Alan, let us know. But yeah, we'll be telling you about what's next. And then the 4th grade will be rising up and going into transition camp this summer. So you'll be getting information about that too. It's a 2-day get to know the schedule, sort of get your feet on the ground before everything starts. And they have a lot of fun at that time too.
August 20th and 21st. Okay, mark your calendars for that. It's a worthwhile experience.
Thank you, everybody. We'll see you soon. Hopefully see a bunch of you at Friday Night Lights tonight. Big basketball game. And thank you for your time.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, guys.
Thank you.